Delayed does not equal denied. All right, so I'm gonna be talking about Joseph, right? So his story can be found in Genesis verse 37 through 47. Now, what I like about his story is it shows you that we will face trials and tribulations on this Christian journey, but we also got to keep in mind that we need to remain steadfast, keep the faith, and keep our sights on God, and He's gonna keep us. Now, Joseph, he got out of the mud. That's probably the best way to describe it. But I'm going to take you through a story right quick. So what ended up happening is he had a dream. Okay, so he had a dream that his sheep will stand up and his brother's sheep will bow down. So he told them of the dream of that, and they got mad. And they was like, what? So they was like, man, they called him a dreamer, and they was like, we're gonna sell this fella. So like first they wanted to eliminate him, but his brother Reuben was like, no bloodshed. Now the text don't say it, but this is my opinion. I feel like God was speaking to Reuben to prevent Joseph from being eliminated. So instead of eliminating him, they end up selling him into slavery. So with him being sold into slavery, he ends up working for this Egyptian officer, right? So this Egyptian officer had a wife. Now the wife, the text does tells us that Joseph was handsome, right? So the Egyptian officer's wife ends up taking a liking to Joseph, and she's pursuing him and saying, "Hey, come lie with me." And this happened several times throughout the text. And Joseph is like, "No." And then he was like, "Why would I do this offense like against my master?" And then like this is not of God. Okay, I'm paraphrasing there, but he's like, this is not of God. Why would I grieve God? You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, she cries foul. The husband has Joseph in prison. So in 39:21 of Genesis, right, the text tells us that the Lord is with Joseph even in prison. You see what I'm saying? So there are two people that's in there with him, or two characters that it focuses on. It talks about the cupbearer and it talks about the baker. So they both have dreams. Joseph interprets their dreams, and after he interprets their dreams, right, like it comes true. Now he tells the cupbearer, he says, "Hey, don't forget about me." Right, because he knew the cupbearer's gonna get out before. He said, "Don't forget about me." What the cupbearer does, he forgets about him. Okay, so the Pharaoh ends up having a dream, and the Pharaoh calls on the magicians and he calls on the wise men. Now think about this: they cannot interpret the dreams. Now the cupbearer is reminded of Joseph, so he brings up Joseph's name. Joseph is brought forward to the Pharaoh. Joseph gives the glory to God. And then Joseph interprets the dream. So then Joseph interprets the dream. He says, "Hey, it's gonna be 7 years of abundance, 7 years of famine." So what Pharaoh ends up making him second in command. He puts him over the land, and he pretty much what he does is he stores up grain during the abundance. That way they're able to make it through the famine. So when the famine comes, his brothers eventually come to Egypt because the famine is so bad. Like they come to Egypt for grain because they heard there's grain there. Well, guess who's in charge of it? Joseph, their brother, the one they sold into slavery. So he ends up providing with grain, and they reconcile. And long story short, like his father and his brothers, they moved to Egypt, and things are good. But his blessings, right? They weren't denied; they were just delayed.